Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks so much for being part of our morning routine, which is anything but routine if you're paying attention. Coming up at 7:35, we're going to speak with Deana Griffiths. She's on the Loudoun County School Board. At 8:05, KT McFarland will be our guest. Talk to her about what Putin and Russia has done here with this intercontinental ballistic missile and how that affects the Trump transition and whether Biden should even be affecting foreign policy in these final weeks. Also at 8:35, the Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp, and we're joined right now by Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, who is, of course, frequent guest to this program. And Congressman Biggs, good to talk with you post-election. And look at that, Arizona came through. Well done.
Yeah, Larry. Mercedes, good morning. Yeah, Arizona came through, and I'll tell you, it shows that Arizona is still a red state. We took back not just President Trump. We lost Kari Lake, but we won every red seat that was up, all the way state offices down to the city and local offices as well.
Well, yesterday, I'm sure much of that has to do with how Arizona is suffering due to the unbelievable border policies of the Biden-Harris administration and the aftermath of how it affects immigration and illegal immigration. Yesterday, you spoke at this hearing about the children who are missing, upwards to 400,000 of them. I want the audience to hear a little bit of what you said.
Ended up in the homes of MS-13 gang members as the sponsor. How'd that happen?
Congressman, I don't have any information before me that you're referencing, but what I can tell you is that no sponsor would be allowed to take a child if we have information that shows that they are engaged in criminal activity.
But if you don't do the vetting right, you don't know if they're engaged in criminal activity. That's how you end up with an MS-13 gang member as the sponsor.
Yeah, you must have wanted to tear your hair out, Congressman Biggs, as Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra continued to dodge these. Well, we would never hand a child over to someone who's guilty of criminal behavior, yet at the same time, he acknowledged that they weren't doing the legal FBI background checks on these sponsor parents. So please describe to me from your perspective here what exactly this administration's been doing with these children and what kind of harm these children are facing right now.
Well, so I'll take the second part first. The harm we think they're facing is some of them we think have died, some of them we think are being sex trafficked. They're being forced into kind of indentured servitude. We know that some of them have been used to rent. To get this family status, so they get people will get released earlier. So that's what's going on, and this administration just continues to allow that because they don't do adequate vetting. I mean, hundreds of people going to the same address, these children going to the same address, same sponsors.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Yeah, let me ask you, Congressman. We also saw Congressman Tom Tiffany, question Secretary Becerra about why these unaccompanied minor children were settled at a strip club in Florida and then pimped out by an aunt, quote unquote, who has no relation to them at all. I mean, we're seeing these cases over and over again. We know HHS has a responsibility. They're throwing the blame to Homeland Security that's how they track the kids. Isn't there a need for there to also be a change within these agencies to say, look, I'll take full responsibility to figure out how we can protect these children?
Yeah, well, there has to be a realignment. I think DHS is too big. Homeland Security is way too big.
Yes.
And I think that when you look at this, you've got Office of Refugee and Resettlement that's handling these kids after a certain point, and that's what's happening. You're moving them from agency to agency to agency, and quite frankly, ORR is not the place to be watching over these kids who are ostensibly being put in quasi-foster care. And I got to be honest with you, if they're coming across as an unaccompanied minor, I don't know why in the world we're reuniting them with a parent who put them in the hands of a cartel to bring them across the border.
Thank you. And Congressman Biggs, as we see the Trump administration taking form and we see the cabinet secretaries he's choosing, I can only think of Becerra yesterday in front of you, as well as Mayorkas, Homeland Security, sitting in front of you over the last several years. Not seeming to care about these children, not seeming to care or mobilize to try to figure out how they can help them, find them, or prevent this from happening in the future. So I've lost faith that this administration will do anything, although I would love for them to face some sort of repercussions because of what they've done. But how quickly are you confident that the incoming administration can actually get a handle on this?
Well, there's a tremendous ball of yarn that has to be unwound, but Tom Holman has got the right approach, and he's correct on this. As you have to start deporting. As soon as you start removing people, there'll be self-deportations, number one. Number two, it will slow the flow because the incentives will go away. Right now, there's every incentive for these people to come in, and right now they're hustling on up. And you got the caravan coming, but you got other people hustling across the border because they know that if they get here, the Biden administration puts them wherever they want. But when we start deporting them, guess what's going to happen? People will say, I don't want to take the risk. I don't want to spend the money. I want to put my life in the hands of the cartel to get across. So it'll slow down.
CPAC's been doing a lot of work. I know our team has worked with your team with the CPAC Center for Combating Human Trafficking. What advice would you give incoming Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., obviously incoming Secretary Kristi Noem at Homeland Security, of how quickly this problem, how we can move quickly to get a handle on where these children are?
Well, I would tell them that the first thing they need to do is implement the DNA testing on everybody who's coming across. Get the biometrics on these people who are coming in and making sure that they're fully vetted. And that's the first thing, and you have to do that because that's the problem here. We don't know if these kids are going to relatives. And then the second thing you do is on the sponsor vetting, you say if you're here in the country illegally, you don't get the kids. You're not going to get the kids if you check the background. You can do that right away, but this administration refuses to do that, and that's in their latest rule that you can check, but you don't have to check.
Congressman Biggs, we're also seeing a new caravan, they're calling it, of soon-to-be illegal immigrants. Currently, they're lawful citizens of their country of origin, but they're heading toward the border. Is there anything Congress can do preemptively to ensure that they don't get across the border as the new administration takes form?
Yeah, it comes in the form of funding. You tell the federal government, you tell the Biden administration that you're not going to fund whatever their prerogatives are to get them through the rest of this lame duck. We're not going to give you any more money unless you stop it. And you have to. And Congress could actually send some resolutions. Needs to put up resolutions saying we're not going to let these people in. But right now the cartels are actually actively recruiting people to get them to come across faster. They're encouraging this 3,000-plus person caravan to come across.
Can I ask one other question quickly, Congressman Biggs? I'm sure that you're potentially concerned. Republicans still have a pretty tight majority in the House, and now we're seeing multiple members of the House of Representatives being tapped to be a part of the Trump administration. Those numbers are getting dangerously small now. When this new Congress assembles the first week of January, when there's a leadership vote, you've been outspoken about some concerns you've had about leadership in the past. Does Speaker Johnson have the support of the caucus? Is this going to be an ugly majority fight, or do you think that Speaker Johnson has earned the right for another term as Speaker?
Well, I'm not sure that he's necessarily earned the right, but I will say this. We all want to get on with the business at hand. We think there's a mandate given to us and to President Trump, and we want to get that America First agenda going forward. And we've got to do things immediately. And I would encourage Speaker Johnson, if he really wants to go forward here, he needs to get everybody together on the same page, get him meeting the 5 families. But more than that, he needs to get the agenda done. He needs to start laying the groundwork to get the agenda done on day one so that we're passing bills out on January 3rd that President Trump can sign on January 20th. That's what I think he needs to be doing.
We would all prefer that you not make allusions to the Godfather movies. We know how that ended up, Congressman Biggs. But it's certainly, just as a follow-up, it certainly appears as though Speaker Johnson has the support and backing of President Trump. I mean, Trump took him to the fights, the UFC fights at Madison Square Garden. He was flying on Trump Force One. He was down at Mar-a-Lago. If you want to move forward with Trump's agenda, it seems like Speaker Johnson needs to be that person to lead the charge.
Well, I think that's what's carrying Mike Johnson through is that President Trump is basically said we can't afford a fight right now, and I don't disagree with that. But the bottom line is Mike has got to step it up, and he's got to. I'm just telling you, he's got to stop putting Democrat crap up on the board for votes in this lame duck. We got to get forward and do the right thing. Now and be prepared to go January 3rd.
See, you know how we play here, Congressman. Because it shouldn't take you so long to give us the soundbite we want. Stop putting Democrat crap up on the board. So I can just lead with that.
Well, I didn't want to bury the lead, but...
Thank you, Congressman. Good to talk with you. Thank you, sir.
Colin A's show. The stories ripped from the headlines and translated into the truth. Join us 3 to 6 on WMAL.
It's 7:18 now. Mercedes, we are of the same generation, the best generation.
No, I'm younger than you are. I don't know what you're talking
You're
about.
on the younger end of the generation, yes. But we are Generation X.
We're Generation MTV. Remember
That's
that?
right. That's my point. And so we have often pined for the opportunity for us to be the most influential generation in American pop culture, finance, and political power. And I think we have attained that role after this election. And when you look at the cabinet selections that Donald Trump has made, overwhelming representation from us, Generation X. But that also brings a little bit of baggage. I think Sean Duffy, the designee for Secretary of Transportation, perfectly exemplifies this. I mean, talk about Gen X. He was literally a star on MTV, on Real World. And he lived that sort of late 80s, all through the 90s kind of, Reagan youth Gen X lifestyle.
Sure.
And apparently now, and by the way, I lived that.
Are you jealous he did that?
No, I lived the lifestyle too. I didn't live it
I heard
at
you
his
were like,
level.
you went to musical theater instead of sports because you're like, that's where I can meet the ladies.
Exactly.
Right.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
we had what I'm learning now is that Sean Duffy and I had a lot in common back in the day, not the looks or the fame, but listen, it was an era. It was an era that young men, enjoyed. And now apparently it's coming back to haunt him during his confirmation hearings because we're told that he's going to be questioned about his, quote, hard partying sex life back when he was young.
When he was in his 20s, for crying out loud. He has like 10 kids. I think he's fine.
He found
with
his
the same woman.
He found his soulmate. He settled down. He got married, and he's had 9 kids for the last 25 years.
I think he's fine.
But what he did when he was 23 now is apparently going to be, raised and discussed.
It's so stupid. The real question is, can you do the job? Are you competent to do the job? Will you serve the American people? He's,
yes.
Him and his wife. I ran into them in Mar-a-Lago. They're the best.
Well,
and I just feel like, he's just got to make sure he.
You know what?
He does. He's going to be a much better pick than what we've seen with Pete Buttigieg.
That's clearly. And by the way, why were there no questions about his sex life when he was nominated for
they
Department
never
of
talk
Treasury?
about the Democrat sex life.
Transportation, excuse me.
Ever.
But you know what this is about, Mercedes. You know better than anyone else what this is about. This is about embarrassing him. It's about intimidating
100%.
and bullying. It's sending a message that if you need to go through confirmation and you want to work in this administration, we will air your dirty laundry no matter how irrelevant it is. This is how Washington works. And you know firsthand, I think, or I shouldn't say firsthand because it suggests that you know personally, but you know of people who did not work in the last. I know people who did not put themselves as eligible for the last administration because they knew that if they worked for Trump, people would try to destroy their lives.
Well, I mean, that happened to us, right? Like I went in, and there was a clear understanding that we were going to be targeted. Yep. Obviously, Matt's been targeted at CPAC. And you really learn. And, it's interesting because, Matt Gaetz is experiencing this now at a whole different level. Right. And it's horrible. Like it is, to them, it's always like, how can they catch you on anything dealing with, sexual assault, sexual misconduct? It's always that. It's never about the qualifications of the individual. It's always like, how do you go and destroy their personal lives? How do you go and destroy their businesses? And that's what the media, literally, their obsession with taking down Democrats is like something I've never seen. And we're kind of bad at it on our side.
We are. And I have a sense that most Americans out there just take for granted that politicians politicians are kind of scummy people, that to sort of make it and they aren't all, by the way. I've met some fantastic elected officials. I really have. But I also think that it's incumbent on we, the people, the citizenry, to not actually put a whole lot of faith and trust in them because they're still politicians, no matter how wonderful they might be.
They're right. They're very imperfect people. I'm not saying that I excuse behavior.
No, I know you're not.
Like,
what I'm saying is
kind
that
of ridiculous.
I think most Americans, they assume that people, they're doing tawdries. It's like, who cares? Just get to work and do something good for me.
So CBS News, like when their headline yesterday that I saw on X was that 3 of the cabinet members, have been charged with sexual assault. I mean, that is literally where they're going.
Oh, not charged.
It's all about the sexual.
No. They would not charged. That's the whole point. Face accusations of sexual assault.
Face accusations, yes.
But that's the point. We
right.
live in a world where we're still innocent until proven guilty. So people, I'm sorry, we've been through the Brett Kavanaugh thing and we have learned our lesson, and you can't do it to us again. We are always going to assume that you're lying.
And the American people are tired of it. They're like, you know what? I just want lower prices.
That's right.
I want control on the border.
Just go get the job
peace.
done.
I don't freaking care. Like, that's kind of where they're at.
724.
Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36 now. It's the 21st day of November. Thanks for tuning in to O'Connor and Company. At 8:05, we'll check in with our friend Katie McFarland and get her perspective on the rising tensions internationally, thanks to the Biden administration's decisions in the final weeks of that failed presidency. And then at 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. Mercedes Schlapp is with us this morning with some little inside tea on the Trump transition.
Inside tea.
You were down at Mar-a-Lago. You got things to say, but you're impressed by the operation in general, aren't you?
I got to tell you, it's really moving fast. And, President Trump knows exactly what he wants. He knows what he's looking for in each of these positions. He's looking for the disruptor. He's looking for the ones who are going to be the the new blood, to give them a chance with the fresh energy to go in there and basically implement his agenda and implement it quickly.
Well, that sounds like the voters of Loudoun County who wanted a disruptor on the school board when they elected Deana Griffiths as the Ashburn district representative. And, she acts as a disruptor now and again. Deana Griffiths joins us now. Thank you for being here, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Larry and Mercedes. I really appreciate being on today.
Help us out with this story. We're seeing reports. The Loudoun County School Board has put out a statement saying that there was a physical altercation involving a board member and a member of the community during a November 18th event at Smarts Mill Middle School during a public forum. Can you tell us more about what happened here?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much, Larry. A clear case of using lawfare to try and silence me. I'm a public official. I was in a public capacity fighting renaming for this school and others, 9 others, by the way, that are not, some of them are not even in my neighborhood. I will continue to fight for our schools and any ridiculous renaming pet projects by attending meetings and discussing this issue on the dais. I do ask that the public stay tuned. I am fighting for their communities. Larry, could I also mention there's another one tonight at Mercer Middle School. Mercer Middle School at 6 p.m. tonight. If anybody would like to attend, it's open to the public. But, we had an agitator there, a well-known agitator, that her M.O. is to basically stir things up. To be honest with you, I think she's the vice chair or the chair of the Loudoun County Democrats. She's making them look really bad. That's all I can say. Let me point out, too, she's also friends with 6 current school board members. And I guess she's giving them feedback on what to do and to push these renamings forward.
So did she pick a fight with you or something? I mean, was this a physical encounter?
Well, basically, I was talking to somebody there, and she came up and she was filming. She had the camera in my face. So I walked past her. And then, she was still filming me. She was very close to my face, so I put my purse up to block. When that didn't work, I had picked up file folders, to try and block her filming me. And what's really funny is tons of people around. There was no altercation. And I will tell you, in the video, a school board member walks by within seconds, of this supposedly, altercation. So nobody thought there was anything going on. She was just being aggressive. There's plenty of video out there. She was filming people right in their faces. And she sent the police to my house.
Wow.
What? She sent the police to your house?
So it
what
made
did
it
the
sound like
police
it was
say?
a fist fight. So it was basically she got in your face and you sort of put up, you were trying to block yourself. And
I was trying to block her filming me. I did not touch anybody, okay? But,
Amazing.
because she started saying, I'm going to call the cops. I'm like, for what? And that's another school board member walked by. Nothing happened. So I ended up leaving, and the next thing I know, there's cops at my house. So my understanding is she does this all the time. She has a record. I don't know if everybody pretty much knows who she is. I don't even have to say her name. But apparently she has an MO where if she doesn't like you politically, she comes after you and tries to take you down. So that's pretty much
that's
what
the bullying.
happened.
Those are the bullying tactics of the left.
Yes.
What else are you all working on in terms of what we're seeing with the school board in Loudoun County? What are they pushing now? What else are they pushing?
Well, besides all the renaming, we're going to be going through budget talks. And by the way, we're on an $87 million shortfall. So basically, any maintenance to any school gets pushed back if, I'm just going to throw out the renaming again, if renamings take place. So I got letters from students begging me for one school, please do something. Our school is really in disrepair. And basically they're, they already told us, if another project comes up, we push these things back. So they also said they're going to go to the Board of Supervisors and they expect to get all the money they need. However, it's still going to push projects back that they deem are more important than others. So I do want to talk about, again, this press release that went out yesterday without even speaking to me first. Just, I mean, they're going off this video without speaking to me, which could have meant anything. It could have meant, I knocked her across the room, which I didn't, or it could have meant I was just trying to block her from filming me, which, by the way, if you do see the video, her phone doesn't move or anything. There's nothing to indicate
there's
there
no
was an
altercation.
So you didn't make. You're saying you didn't make contact with her, and you're right. I read the press release, and it made it sound like there was hair pulling, there was punches thrown, there was.
Wow, it's
and
like the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were in an octagon cage. It cites the board's code of conduct, policy 1030, clear expectations. So, do you feel like they're trying to use this to, in some way, censure you, or maybe even get you off the board?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing, because they don't like that I'm speaking out and telling and being transparent for the public to let them know what's going on. They've tried to censor me before. It didn't work. And it's certainly not going to work this time. If they're smart, they would just back off, because they'll have a problem.
Back off.
I would say back off. Yep.
Deana Griffiths, real fast, because there's another meeting tonight, and let's face it, some people might want to go with the expectation that that someone's going to throw hands. So where do you want people to go to support you and to make sure that they send the signal that they got your back? What's going on tonight again?
Well, tonight, Mercer Middle School at 6 p.m. is another one of their pet projects to rename a school. But also, I'd like people to speak out at board meetings and let this board know they're not okay with these pet projects that waste money and push other more important projects back.
Yeah, and how about working on the curriculum and getting the grades up, getting scores up? Yeah,
tell me how this helps in achievement. Tell me how any of this helps in achievement.
Deana Griffiths, Loudoun County School Board. Watch your back, Deana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. All right, take care.
Gladiator is such a great movie, and I'm excited about Gladiator 2. Are you going to see Gladiator 2? I think it looks good.
I think I'd watch it. Yeah, that looks like
the original movie. Well, you have all daughters, so you probably don't.
Yeah, so we're a little bit.
Have they not seen
Gladiator? We're not into the Gladiator stuff. No, like
we
watched I know. Well, I'm not into all the bloody scenes, and we have been to the Colosseum in Rome.
Ah.
So, and it is really impressive. So, do you have some news or something you want to share?
That brings us to this topic here. Well done. Airbnb is partnering with, the Colosseum and various Airbnbs around that area in Rome to put together what they're calling a gladiator experience. Listen up. This is according to Lux World. Forbes has this. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years and in celebration of Gladiator II, the Colosseum returns to its original purpose as a venue for performances, inviting warrior recruits to step foot inside the arena to forge their own paths and shape their destinies. According to Airbnb, guests will follow in the footsteps once traversed by victorious fighters, suit up in historically accurate armor, and test their skills to determine their battle fate. In other words, you're vacationing in Rome, and then one afternoon you suit up as a gladiator and you try to kick a rhino's butt or something.
I think it's killer. But didn't Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, didn't they challenge each other to go and
the fight never happened, and I feel sort of let down.
Right.
But
so this is your moment, Larry. You should totally go.
So your family and my family, we can vacation, and Matt and I can square off as gladiators.
Well, it was either Matt or you, or I would put I would probably put Lucia against you because I think she'd beat you. That's the little one, the 7th grader.
True.
But you know who would be really fun to take with us?
Who?
Chris Plant. So it could be Chris Plant against Larry.
I happen to know that Chris Plant likes gladiator movies. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
He could do that.
That would be an interesting battle.
Well,
I'd go and watch.
It's funny because
eat good Italian food.
After this radio program every morning, people don't know this, but I go up to the rooftop here on WMAL's landmark building here in Friendship Heights, Washington, D.C., and I scream at the top of my lungs.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
That's right.
Is this not why you are here?
That's right. Are you not? And weirdly, I use an Australian accent, even though I'm supposed to be in Rome.
Yeah, I'm thinking like President Trump. I mean, he's done the McDonald's thing. He's, been on the garbage truck. I think dressing up as a gladiator, that's his next thing.
Well,
sure.
I'll tell you this. Apparently, they're facing some backlash from the locals there in Rome. They're Italians. They're Europeans, Apparently, they're appalled. They're saying, we are not Disneyland. They don't like to put they're not putting the glad in gladiator, as it were, according to the New York Post. This event is part of a $1.5 million deal between Airbnb and the Colosseum Archaeological Park that oversees the Colosseum. And the locals are saying that they don't want this in their town. They think that it's hyper-tourism. And they run the risk in Rome of becoming Disneyland for the rich.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be good for Italy's economy. We're all in.
It is this weird thing. I've been to Rome. You've been to Rome. You've been to Rome recently, right?
Well, yeah.
It is this weird thing where you go there and you visit the Vatican and you have this holy experience and the Sistine Chapel and all these amazing churches, and it's incredibly spiritual and you feel connected to Christ and His holy church. And then you go over to the Colosseum and you want to slaughter the bad guys and sort of fight to the death.
Well, the history is just remarkable, and then when you're walking through kind of the Forum, also outside of the Colosseum, and they're really good of I think in cherishing their history and being proud of their history, and good and bad, and you got to really admire the Italians for that.
It's a great city to walk around in and see. I love walking Rome, but great. Sometimes you need a little extra exercise to burn off all that pasta. And so why not suit up and do the gladiator thing? Are you not entertained? It's 7:53.